something's gonna go wrong. And there are months when you get comfortable, but I've realized like, hey, not everything is gonna go smooth. And if your expectations are set at that, I feel like you always figure it out.
From This Week in Trucking, this is Profit Per Mile, and I'm Amy. Today we are joined by Pargat Baidwan from 𝗗𝗢𝗡𝗧 LLC to talk about how he's running his trucking fleet in 2025. But before we get into it, don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an update. Thank you for joining us, Pargat.
Thank you for having us, Amy.
Pargat, could you tell us a bit about how you got started in trucking and what led you to starting 𝗗𝗢𝗡𝗧?
So I mean, just like most people, they have someone that's already involved in trucking. My father was involved in trucking from 1995 till 2005, and as a child, I went with him to like on his trips and stuff like that. He used to run New York to Ohio, Ohio to New York, and we lived in the Poconos. So yeah, that's how I got started, introduced to trucking, and then we moved on into gas station business and stuff like that. But we were still dealing with trucks in terms of like drivers fueling at our gas station and location, and we continued and stayed up to date with the industry. If it was doing well or not doing well, the drivers will tell you anything you want to know. And then at the gas pumps, so that's how I started, and we started 𝗗𝗢𝗡𝗧 in 2016, and we've been doing this ever since.
How many trucks are in your fleet right now, and what kind of freight do you specialize in today?
Currently we have 33. 4 of them are owner ops, and 29 of them are owned by us. We have one dry van, and then we have reefers, and we haul produce and food related anything. So
What do you mostly run, regional, OTR, or dedicated lanes?
we do mostly mixture. We do local, regional, and OTR to Texas. So our OTR is kind of special. Like our drivers will get home every week. We try to hire locally, so drivers can get home every week.
How do you usually find your loads? Do you use brokers? Do you handle dispatch in-house or use a service?
We do have a little bit of everything. We get some broker freight. We have a lot of our customer freight, and we deal with 4 different customers. And as we grow, that that ratio always changes. So it's all based on our availability and what's out there in the market.
On average, how many miles would you say each truck runs per month?
So we have within our fleet, we have like sub fleets. Like we have OTR trucks, we have local trucks. Our guys do about 3,800 miles each week, and our local guys do much less, like about 2,500 miles or less probably.
And then if we break that down, how much does one truck usually gross?
So the OTR truck will do about 8,000 or less. Somewhere around there. It fluctuates. Lately, the spot market has been up because the spot market plays a big impact in our destination where we were trying to get to. And also depends on like if we do 2 loads in between or 1 load. And our local trucks will bring somewhere like 45 to 5,000.
Do you know what your average loaded rate per mile is across the fleet?
Yes, with the empty and loaded miles, we're averaging 215 right now.
And then for your company, for a company of your size, what kind of insurance policies do you carry?
Pretty much everything that's required by FMCSA. FMCSA requires 750. We have $1 million. And our for freight, you could get up to 75, but we have 250. We tend to go above industry averages just so we're protected, and because of our customers and the type of products we haul, we've added reefer breakdown, and also there's something that you could get. It's called driver. Like if a driver makes a mistake, you could get that as well. You could add so many different policies. We try to get the best one so we're protected and our customers are protected.
If we could know fleet-wide and per truck, what does insurance typically cost you?
We're doing about like 14,000 per truck a year. So it's 462,000 right now on the yearly basis. So $500,000.
As a big fleet like yours, what is your biggest monthly expense? Fuel, insurance, maintenance?
Yeah, fuel's pretty hefty. Right now we're about spending about 30 grand a week in just fuel alone. Then insurance, and then after that is maintenance and driver pay.
And then how do you pay your drivers? Do you do per mile, percentage, or salary?
We've done we do per mile to our OTR drivers that do the Texas runs. It's easier to track and things like that, and then we do per load to our local/regional drivers.
And do you offer any bonuses or incentives?
We're working on something, and there are some things that we're bringing to our fleet to keep our drivers, to retain our drivers. Even though our drivers like, our current pay, we tend to be above industry averages, and we know that from just like recruiting and talking to different drivers. But we are adding some things that will help our retention. And this thing started because of our fleet growth. And about 2 years ago, we only had 10 or 11 trucks, so we're growing a lot.
And then coming back a little bit to fuel, do you know how many miles to the gallon your trucks are getting on average?
Yeah, so the newer trucks were getting above 7, and the older trucks around 5.5, 6 miles to a gallon. Also depends on how much they idle. We have local drivers that idle like 10 hours, and then we have OTR guys but we were buying more and more APUs and idling systems within the trucks, within the specs of the trucks that we buy brand new.
What do you typically budget for maintenance each month?
Oh man, that's a tough question. I wish we knew, but right now I think 30 grand, but maybe a little bit more.
Yeah.
But roughly it's been consistent. Some months, like if a transmission goes out or a clutch goes out or a engine job, then it tends to be like in the 50s or 60s. But I would say if I had to average it out, 35,000. It also depends on the age of your trucks too. So older trucks tend to bring more maintenance and also like warranties. So if you have a lot of warranties, like newer trucks usually come with major parts and components, and they tend to be covered under those warranties. We try to get trucks under warranties. We do have some trucks that we keep local, and often it crosses my mind to like rotate those trucks, but they've been good to us. So we just look at it per truck basis and see if if it's causing a lot of problems, if it's worth keeping.
Yeah.
And there's to us there's a lot of emotional attachment as well with some of our trucks, because like when you're growing, you're like, oh, it's our truck, I did this with this truck. And then but eventually it's like you gotta separate yourself emotionally and just do a business decision.
Well, now that you mention it, it would be great if we could take a moment to just focus on one truck as an example and see how the numbers look for one single truck. Do you know how many miles does one single truck usually run in a month?
Yeah, like about 10,000 miles or so, and
And what is one truck grossing per month on average?
about 18 or 20.
And then can we go to the breakdown of the cost for that one truck? Fuel, insurance, driver pay.
So we're averaging about 5,000 a month. Our OTR trucks are doing about 58 to 6,000.
And then for your not local guys, do they spend anything on tolls?
We do. Our toll bills, I should have talked about that. We're paying a hefty amount. So a big chunk of our fleet goes to New York City, and we use pre-pass, to manage that. And some of our customers do reimburse our tolls, but we're spending close to 30 grand on tolls a month as well between our fleet, which is a huge cost.
And then for your trucks, you mentioned before I started recording you wanted to add more trucks to your fleet. Are there any trucks you're paying off right now? Do you have a big truck payment?
Yeah. I mean, there was a time where like half of our fleet was paid off, but now we're starting to trend towards the other side. And that's one of the reasons why we're not selling it, to basically save money. It's actually cheaper. Like when you know a truck, you can gauge if it's worth keeping or not. And truck drivers know this, and they're very smart about stuff like this, right? So, but cost of buying a newer truck is going down right now, but it's gonna start trending upwards again because of tariffs and things like that. So currently, I would say 60% of our fleet, to answer your question, is still, there's debt service on that.
And then coming back to the single truck, if you had to estimate, I'm not sure if you already mentioned this, what the cost per mile for one truck would be on a local guy?
Cost is about 90% is going towards cost. So, 22 cents or so, is the net profit.
Okay.
And out of 215, we're spending like $1.82 or 85, something along those lines, between driver pay, expenses, debt service, fuel, all that stuff, and trailers too, actually.
And then what percentage of your revenue does driver pay run you for?
It tends to be around 25%.
And then how do you manage compliance and paperwork for multiple units like ELDs, IFTA, safety checks? How do you do that for a fleet as big as yours?
So use different things, pretty much every channel that you use. Fleet One has their own. They provide the gallons and the breakdowns, and we use a TMS called 𝗙𝗢𝗡, and they've been a great partner of ours, and we've been able to grow because of them, and their the system's ability to manage more with less. So we have to put less people. So we're not going through like manual things. As long as everyone does their job between when you create a profile for a truck, create a profile for the driver, create a profile for the trailer, connect your fueling system. Like we use Fleet One and RTS through RTS. And so when all the connections are made on the TMS, a lot of the information is at the click of a button. And we're also adding new things too for maintenance. We're using Fleetio. It's a growing company as well. A lot of major companies use that, and we just signed up with them to better keep track of our maintenance, and also to assign jobs to our mechanics as well. That it makes it a lot easier, and you get drivers to take photos each time. So we could keep track of, like, let's say if a driver hit a trailer, and then we want to hold people accountable and see who's actually bringing our costs down.
Yeah.
And so we're using a lot of technology, basically, like, and AI is making it a lot easier too. So there's a lot of AI stuff within these apps that we use and systems we use.
Okay, cool. Could you tell me a little bit more about what AI tool you've been liking most?
Building loads. For example, like, there's PDF reading tools. Like if a customer or broker sends you a rate confirmation, you could drag and drop that into 𝗙𝗢𝗡, and it could create a load. It'll create, like, I would say 90% of the load, and then and it'll pick up a lot of small things that you can make mistakes on, like pickup numbers. It cuts down the cost of, like, or time between a driver and the dispatcher. Let's say if I'm building a load and I put the wrong number, I put a 2 instead of a 3, and there's that back and forth, and the drivers, they get frustrated too, about like not having the proper information while they're standing in a queue at a line and at the shipper or even the receiver, to be honest. So they get frustrated about, like, hey, you guys aren't providing proper information. So it cuts that very short, and everything's precise and at the touch of your fingers.
Yeah, I don't know if you know this, but Bobtail has a load management system, and you just forward the rate con, and it automatically creates the load inside your app. So that's really cool because you minimize the mistakes you can make when entering a number of a load.
That's awesome. Must needed thing, like, I mean, I'm not sure about moving forward, but in the past, you had to do more with less, to save money. And is very challenging. It is challenging to this day. I mean, there's different types of challenges in trucking. Like might get freight right one day, and then drivers tend to be a problem. If you get those right, then the trucks start acting up or something. So any way you could save money and time, it's a key.
And then in your experience, now that you're mentioning that, what has been your balance? What are some things you do to keep that balance between maybe the freight is going to be good and maybe the trucks are not going to be good month to month? What are your takes? What have you experienced, and what do you like doing?
I think realizing that something's gonna go wrong, and there are months when you get comfortable, but I think I've been in the industry for 10 years now, right? Or almost 10 years, a few months out almost. And then, but I've realized hey, not everything is gonna go smooth. And if your expectations are set at that, I feel like you always figure it out. And whatever it takes to figure it out, we do whatever it takes.
We talked a little bit about the profit you are making in clearing. Could we talk after expenses what kind of profit you're clearing per truck, and if that number changes a lot month to month?
It does change a lot month to month, but our goal is about 10%. I feel like that's the industry average too. About 8 or 9, 10% is good. And with us, we're using everything that we we put it back into the business because we just want to grow. So also depend on what your goals and aspirations are. And I feel like the more trucks you have, that number starts shrinking. Some gentleman that I met on the road, he was explaining, he was like, hey, look, I was making the most amount of money at 15 trucks, and I feel like it's true because, you can manage that well. That's a sweet spot. You don't need a lot of people working for you. You could still have time for your family and things like that. But as you keep growing, trucking start taking a lot of time out of your day. And I'm seeing that. And, there's a lot of sacrifices that are made because of this, aspiration to grow.
And then on that same note, do you have a perfect number of trucks you'd like to have by the end of 2025 or maybe in 2026?
Perfect number. 25, not so much, but I do have some goals for 26 that I have set. I want to be at 55 to 60 trucks.
Okay, and what are you doing actively right now to get to that goal?
We're adding 5 trucks this month, so that should put us at 38. So, I would say, but this year and next year will be very aggressive. We're setting ourselves up, it's all about strategic growth. We're setting ourselves up and, making decisions now that will get us to that position next year.
What advice would you give to small carriers or smaller fleets who want to scale up like you have?
Customers, I think keep your customers happy, get your service on point, and that's the key. Do well and everything else will change around you, and hire good people as much as possible. It's tough environment, those who are looking for a job, it's for a reason, very seldom somebody is looking for a job. They were good drivers, but something happened. But a lot of times drivers are fired or something happens, or even in their personal life, not to blame everything on the drivers. People that are happy, companies that have good drivers, they tend to try to keep them happy.
And then what would be one thing Golden Key Express does to have strong retention?
Treat your drivers as human, we communicate to them and let them know our expectations. We give them time, spend some time. I feel like it's just human nature. People want to be heard. And then if you listen to them, treat them right, and they'll look out for you and look out for the company but at the same time make money. They're out on the road for a reason. So.
And if you could go back in time and start Golden Key again, what would you do differently?
I feel like I would be a lot more organized. Lately it's problems come first and solutions come later. I feel like if I know what I know now, I would have a TMS at earlier stage in the years of being active, and organize ourselves better. There's times where I would stay up at night and stuff like that, and work during the day to I would hire earlier, to like not put so much burden on myself. Like in the beginning, I was managing 7 or 8 trucks all by myself. But we had operations. We would book loads throughout the day and track them at nighttime. And then I would help at an earlier stage and invest in our people. I feel like that's a huge thing to be picky about who you hire. That's important because that could sustain you, propel you to the next level or pull you back, hold you back as a company.
That's amazing. This all sounds great. Do you have anything else you would like to share with our audience?
Lately, the whole non-domicile thing, I feel like a lot of people aren't having a soft heart to immigrants, and there's a lot of negativity out on social media and stuff like that towards immigrant drivers. But I feel like a lot of people need to like understand they're humans too. They came here for a better life. Nobody is purposely doing anything. There's a lot of things that happen in the US over however many years you could track back. Immigration reform was needed. A lot of people, they've been on work permits and things like that for years, like 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, right? And they've been an active tax-paying citizen, I would say, of the US, right? And that doesn't make them a second to anything. They're still humans. They're active part of society, and they're not problematic. A lot of people make it seem like immigrants ruin trucking, right? Which I agree. I feel like they made it better. uh so I've been in situations, not to like go on a sidetrack story, where I've been told like, hey, you know if you look at the person, just an individual, and all the things that they are, but to them being a citizen is on top of it. But they've made more mistakes than anyone, in life. Mistakes, and I mean that, like, mistakes. It's not intentionally. They're trying to ruin their own life. But the immigration status doesn't make somebody a good or bad driver. I feel like people aren't realizing that.
I'm glad you added that. In my last interview, we also went on for a moment about, I asked him what the hardest part of dispatching was, and he was talking about the testosterone,
Power struggle.
power
Yeah. Oh,
struggle
okay.
you have. And I was saying, yeah, this industry is already hard enough to be layering on more stuff. And I think, yeah, the current conversation around this is interesting. The latest news we've seen is targeting. So people make up their minds quickly, and then it's hard to shift them from that. But I guess if we have a little bit more grace and what you're saying, remembering we're humans and we're all trying best, it could be a little better for everyone.
Yeah, I think so. Like, everyone's trying to make a buck, just to feed their families. We don't know everyone's expenses. Like, the immigration part just needed a reform. Like, it needs a reform. Core systems aren't perfect. EIS is not perfect. Anyone that's processing these cases, they are not perfect. So all those people and overwhelming the system itself currently in this environment is not going to help here. So there will be more stacks of files and cases, but the same amount of people working them, right? So if there's let's say if someone was going through a green card and it took them 2 years to get a green card, and now that whole process is 3 years, right? Like, we have drivers that have an approved green card. Like, I'm very limited. We're fortunate that we have like maybe 3 or 4 drivers that were ever in this situation. One driver, he had to park the truck yesterday, and it kind of hurt. He has an approved green card. He just didn't receive it yet, right? But he's going through having to explain everything, and the whole fear, the fact that his CDL could be canceled tomorrow, and he'll just get a letter, and that's hovering over his head, and he's having to make decisions around that. And he's very sad emptying out the truck, and I was like talking to him, trying to make him feel better. But it sucks. This environment sucks.
Because I understand the basis is making trucking safer. I understand what we're trying to get at with these policies, but then we forget when we're saying like, oh yeah, driver capacity will like balance itself out now that all these drivers are going to be out of the industry. All these people are going to be without a job. All these people who invested in a truck are going to have huge expenses on them.
And the reset is going to cost a lot of other issues too. Everyone's going to want the best. There's no one best load. How many, let's say if a fleet has 10 loads from one really solid customer, right? And you have 20 trucks, not all 20 drivers are going to get those 10 loads, right? So how do you distinguish that? Everyone's going to jump for the best, right? And the whole seniority thing is going to get shifted. And what do you judge people off of? Like, no two employees are ever the same, right? And that's just reality. As much as an employer, you want them to be perfect. It's just not. Maybe driver A has 3 kids and one of them is younger. He also has to pick them up. Driver B has no responsibilities, right? Like, so everything is balanced out. Like, that's how our society has always functioned. But this whole added pressure, I would say, is gonna have a big impact on the way we do trucking moving forward. Drivers, hiring drivers, customers, RFPs. A lot more loads will be given back to customers because, also, I mean, it's going to cause problems for the customers too. Let's say if a driver gets picked up by ICE and ICE doesn't tell the company, hey, your driver got picked up, they just leave the truck there.
Yeah.
Right? What if it's loaded? What if it's, like so many things? How do you manage that? What if somebody steals it? And then towing companies have predatory practices too. And now you're paying $5,000 to get your truck out, So there's or they could damage your equipment in the tow because there's like overwhelming pressure on them too.
Yeah.
And then also damage the freight. So how do you navigate through that? And you hear nightmare stories on social media every day.
Most of the talent booking I do is through LinkedIn, and I get to see a lot, sometimes too much, maybe horror stories actually, because I guess that's what gets clicks.
Yeah.
I would like to not end this on the saddest note ever. Is there any advice you would give to the small carriers specifically right now when the freight market is not the prettiest, not the best?
I would say pick and choose who you work with, work hard, give the utmost service level possible, be respectful, and it'll come. This is going to turn around, and you just got to stick through it, and it's going to get better for everyone, especially the small guys. I feel like I have a lot of respect for people that choose to buy a truck on their own and go out there, work hard for their family while being on the road. So yeah, stick through it. It's gonna get better.
Thank you so much for joining me today, Pargat. This conversation was great for me, and I'm sure it will be great for the audience. For anyone watching, leave us your thoughts in the comments below. If you have any questions, be sure to leave them there. I'll be sure to ask Pargat. I haven't asked him if I can, but I'll send them to him. Don't forget to subscribe to This Week in Trucking to learn more about this industry and never miss a conversation. Drive safe.
Thank you for having me.